Microsoft has warned users of Windows 10 around the world to update their software as soon as possible to minimise the risk of cyber attacks now that support for the program has officially ended.
The Windows era is over and Microsoft know it.
That Windows 10 works great on these older computers. But Windows 11 goes in the complete opposite direction, has strict hardware requirements. And so if you don't have a newer processor in your computer, you can't install the operating system at all.
Something is cracking wide open in the world of personal computing, and the drama is impossible to look away from. With Windows 10's end of support now a reality, millions of devoted users are being shoved out of an operating system they loved and forced to reckon with a future they didn't ask for. The choice being handed to them is brutal. Shell out for new hardware capable of running Windows 11, or stay put and become an easy target for hackers and cyber. There's no comfortable middle ground. For many, this feels like a betrayal from a brand they'd trusted for decades. The operating system that was once celebrated for putting power back in the hands of everyday people has morphed into something far more controlling, far more corporate, and far less forgiving. And somewhere in all of this, one has to wonder what Bill Gates himself makes of watching his original vision. They get swallowed whole by the very machine he helped build. But honestly, the worst part of this story hasn't even dropped yet.
Millions of people are going to have to figure out their next steps as Microsoft ended free security support for Windows 10.
End of life means you will not get security updates. I know that for $30 you can get an extra year of security updates from Microsoft, but after that...
30 years of goodwill, and Microsoft is torching it in real time. The company that defined what personal computing could look like for an entire generation is now forcing its most loyal users off a stable, beloved platform and into the arms of Windows 11, an operating system that many describe as bloated, overbearing, and completely out of touch with what people actually want from their computers. What's making people the most furious isn't just the inconvenience, it's the cold calculation behind it all. Perfectly good hardware is being rendered obsolete by design, not necessity. Users who can't meet the upgrade requirements aren't being offered solutions. They're being left exposed, unsupported, and increasingly vulnerable to cyber threats. Innovation didn't drive this decision. Profit did, and the loyal fan base that helped build Microsoft into a trillion-dollar empire is now being treated like a revenue source rather than a community. Just wait until you hear what this is actually doing to people's machines.
Here's the problem. Some older computers can't upgrade to Windows 11. This essentially leaves millions of Windows 10 users, I should say, with a choice. Keep their outdated PC and risk exposing themselves to cyber attacks like getting hacked or getting data stolen, or get a whole new PC.
There was a time when Microsoft genuinely seemed to care about the person sitting in front of the screen. Windows 10 was the proof, stable, intuitive, and designed with the user's experience front and center. People trusted it. They built their routines around it. And now that era is being quietly buried, replaced by an operating system that many feel constantly demands more than it gives. Windows 11 has a habit of pushing users into corners, asking for more permissions, more integration, more compromise, while delivering an experience that feels less personal and more like navigating a corporate policy document. The trust Microsoft spent decades carefully constructing is developing very visible cracks. And with every heavy-handed update and forced transition, more users are starting to look elsewhere. The alternatives are getting louder, and they're starting to make a lot of sense. And what Microsoft is doing to older hardware, that's where things get truly infuriating.
Well, because Windows 10 is now deprecated. It no longer is being updated. When you turn your computer on and it runs this annoying update, most of the time that's for security reasons, because as hackers get more sophisticated, so too do the defenses against them. Now, Windows 10 is no longer being updated, which means that every computer running Windows 10, especially over time, will become more and more susceptible to cyber attack.
Microsoft has essentially redrawn the rules of the game, and millions of users are finding out they no longer qualify to play. Windows 11's hardware requirements have created a wall that countless perfectly functional computers simply cannot clear, not because they're slow, not because they're struggling, but because they don't tick the right boxes on a checklist. Microsoft wrote, machines that were running Windows 10 without a single complaint are now being labeled obsolete overnight. The human cost of this is real and it's significant. For users who cannot afford a brand new device, this isn't a minor inconvenience, it's a punishment. Stay on unsupported hardware and risk becoming a sitting duck for every cybersecurity threat circling the internet, or drain savings on a new purchase just to keep up. Microsoft's own customers are being used as leverage in a hardware upgrade cycle that benefits the company far more than the people trapped inside it. And the response from users, it has been absolutely volcanic.
Now we know Windows is full of bloatware, it's full of Copilot and AI, It's had monstrosities added to it like the start menu. It's full of telemetry and data collecting.
The fury spreading through the Windows user community right now is the kind that doesn't cool down quickly. People aren't just annoyed, they're feeling genuinely deceived by a company they spent years supporting. Every forum, every comment section, every tech community online is buzzing with the same sentiment. This is a money grab, plain and simple, engineered to extract yet another purchase from people who already paid their dues. The most uncomfortable truth emerging from all of this is just how starkly it exposes Microsoft's shifting priorities. The company that once positioned itself as a tool for empowerment has pivoted hard toward a profit-first model, and the divide it's creating is deeply unfair. Those with the financial means to upgrade move forward. Those without are left behind with vulnerable, unsupported systems and no real safety net. Forced obsolescence isn't an accident, it's a strategy. In Windows 11 itself, it's about to make all of this feel even more personal.
Microsoft has apparently had enough of being called Microslop and has officially banned the word from the official Copilot Discord server. Naturally, this went as well as you could probably expect. After the filter went live, users responded with the maturity of, well, Discord users and flooded the chat with creative variants of the Microsoft name, like Microslop with a 0 or Sloppy Soft.
If the hardware situation wasn't enough to send users over the edge, Windows 11's increasingly invasive feature set is finishing the job. The operating system has become a showcase for everything people don't want from their personal technology, and nothing captures that more perfectly than the arrival of Copilot AI. Marketed as a productivity revolution, it has landed for many users as something far less welcome, a resource-draining, background-running, workflow-interrupting presence that nobody requested and almost nobody can fully switch off. The experience of trying to work on a Windows 11 machine while Copilot quietly consumes system resources in the background has been compared to having an uninvited house guest who rearranges your belongings while you're trying to cook dinner. Your PC wants your own personal space to work, create, and decompress, increasingly feels like a managed endpoint in someone else's ecosystem. The line between personal device and corporate surveillance tool has never felt thinner, and users are starting to make very loud, very permanent decisions about which side of that line they want to be on.
So technology is improving at a rapid rate and things are getting more and more difficult to understand. As we move into the future, hackers, cyber attacks get more sophisticated, and as we all know, Australia loves a cyber attack. I mean, it happens seemingly every month at this point, and so it means that as we move forward, the risk is going to increase. So perhaps today, perhaps not tomorrow, but in 6 months, in a year, as the software Windows 10 doesn't keep up with new risks being invented, being innovated, it means that the risk will mount and mount and mount, and it's already happened. It's just going to get worse.